Okay, so this video is going to be practice with law of sines and cosines. So take a minute, pause the video, and try to solve this triangle, and then come back. Okay, welcome back. So the first thing I notice is that there is not a ratio where I have both parts. So here I have the angle of 112 degrees, but I don't have the side. And same thing for these sides. Well, I have the side, but I don't have the angle. And then same thing for this one. So when I don't have one I can start with where I have both parts, I need to start with law of cosines. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use law of cosines to try to find this side right here. Once I have that side, I have both parts to an angle and a side. Then I can use law of sines to solve the rest of the triangle. Okay. So if I'm solving for side B right here, this would be side B. The law of cosines formula I would use is b squared is equal to the other two sides, which is a squared plus c squared minus 2 times a times c times the cosine of b. Okay, so now I plug everything in, and then I'm going to solve for little b here. So I'm going to have b squared is equal to a squared, which is 24 squared, plus c squared, which is 20 squared, minus 2 times a, which is 24, times c, which is 20, times the cosine of b, which is 112. Okay, now I solve for little b. Okay, so I'm going to have b squared is equal to 576 plus 400 minus 960 times the cosine of 112. Okay, well this gives me b squared is equal to 976 minus 960 times cosine of 112. And at this point, I'm going to plug that into my calculator. Okay, when I do that, I get 1,335.6223. Now I'm rounding here in my work, but I'm keeping that whole decimal in my calculator. Okay, now I'm going to square root it. I get b. Now I'm going to use the whole decimal that's saved in my calculator here when I square root it, so I know I get an exact answer. Okay, and I get 36.55 for little b. Okay, so then I can go over here and put 36.55. Okay, awesome. So now that I solved for little b, to finish solving for this triangle, I have to solve for angle A and angle C. Well, now, since I have both pieces to an angle and a side, now I can use law of sines. So now I have this ratio of 36.55 over the sine of 112. Okay. Now here I'm going to solve for angle A first. So we're going to have 24, right, because that's the side that corresponds with angle A, over the sine of A. Okay. So now I'm going to cross multiply. So I get 36.55 times the sine of A is equal to 24 times the sine of 112. Okay, I want to get A by itself. I'm going to divide by this 36.55. Divide by 36.55. So now I have sine of A is equal to 24 times the sine of 112 over 36.55. Okay, now A is still not by itself. So to get A by itself, remember I want to undo that sign. So I use the inverse of sine of both sides. That gets rid of that. So now I have A is equal to the inverse of sine of 24 times sine of 112 over 36.55. Okay, then I plug that in my calculator. When I do that, I get A is equal to 37.5 degrees. Okay, so that's what I have for A. Okay, now angle C is our last one. So we're going to start with the same ratio that we had. So we have 36.55 over sine of 112 is equal to, so the side that corresponds with C is 20 over the sine of C. Okay, so same process for this one. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to have 36.55 times the sine of C is equal to 20 times the sine of 112. I'm going to divide by this 36.55. Sorry, this should be 36.55. Okay, then I'm going to get sine of C is equal to 20 times the sine of 112 over 36.55. Okay, same thing for this one. I'm going to use the sine inverse. So I get C is equal to the sine inverse of 20 times sine of 112 over 36.55. Okay, plug that into my calculator. And I get C is equal to 30.5 degrees. Okay, and that's it. So I solved for each of the missing pieces, so I solved this triangle.